Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Focus Forum. We're looking forward to hearing from our newest county legislators. We're just letting people drift in now as I've opened the webinar. We had a large number of registrants today, over 100 who registered to hear us today, and we're thrilled to have that kind of attendance. All right, let's get started. So, welcome. I'm Rita Riker. For those of you who don't know, I'm president of Focus Greater Syracuse and really very pleased to have to be here today and to listen to our newest Onondaga County Legislators. Just to by brief introduction, we have Kevin Meeker, Mark Olson, Nodisha Hernandez, Maurice Brown, Dan Romeo, Palmer Harvey. I think I got them all here today. And we had agreed that introduce that each of them would speak briefly to give you a little bit of sense of why they chose to run, what their priorities are, a little bit about themselves. And we chose to the order to be by legislative district. So I'm going to start with Kevin Meeker. Kevin, you're on.
All right, wonderful. Good afternoon to all of you in attendance, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Rita, and your team for putting this entire thing together. So my name is Kevin Meeker, and I decided to run for Onondaga County Legislator because I wanted to be able to work on the important issues that affect people's lives and help shape the future of our community. I was first elected to the Town of Clay Town Board back in 2017, ran as an independent, and held that office from 2017 through last year when I was elected to the Ledge. I studied high school at Henniger High School and graduated from Hannibal High School. I also went to Bryan and Stratton College, and I own my own real estate company. I've been in real estate now for just under 20 years. So I dabble, the type of real estate I sell, I often laugh at people. Whatever I can make a commission at is where I work within the realm of real estate. I am married. My wife is a school teacher in Oswego. I have 3 children that are at home still, 2 that have moved out and doing their own thing. I volunteer as a caterer for St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Church. I donate blood to the American Red Cross. I'm on the Cicero North Syracuse Superintendent's Advisory Committee. Some of my favorite things to do is, number one is here in our area is probably the regional market. My family and I really enjoy going down to the market on Saturdays. I am the vice chairperson of Planning and Economic Development and a member of the Health and Human Service Committees. I think that's really all I have for you. That's kind of what I am, and why I ran for office is to really try to make a difference with people. And I strive to do that. With every constituent I deal with, I listen to them and I try to help solve their problem. A lot of times in the grand scheme of things, the problem that the constituent brings is small. However, to them, it's not small. So I give them the time and listen. I put the effort in to try to solve whatever issue they may have.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
So next up, we have Dan Romeo, and Dan is representing District 7, I believe. And Dan, you're up.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us today and taking the time out to listen to what we all have to say. I always enjoy participation in government, so glad to be here. My name is Dan Romeo. I represent the 7th District. 7th District covers Sedgwick, Eastwood, Village of East Syracuse, and a good chunk of town of DeWitt to the manliest line. I got involved in politics because I was just looking to be a part of the community and see how I can help benefit that. Started 9 years ago now, I ran for the Board of Education in the city of Syracuse. I was on the board for 8 years. Really got to a point where I felt like I wasn't being as productive as I could have been, and other people, could have taken over that spot. So I decided to come off of it. And I always say I'm a politician by opportunity. Peggy Chase and Mary Kuhn, who were representing my current district, were doing a great job, but they were both retiring. And I wanted somebody of quality to represent those areas because I care about them genuinely. And having my experience on the Board of Education, I felt like I could do that well. A few things that I would hope to prioritize are health and human services, be it child and family services, because I have experienced that in the school district, the challenges that our families face and the things that I think that we need to do as a county to support their lives so that they can have a better educational experience, as well as out in the community, they will be able to enjoy their lives and contribute appropriately. So on the county legislature currently, I am on the Environmental Protection Committee and Ways and Means. I've been learning a lot and have been having a great time meeting the other county legislators and working with them. I'm a lifelong city resident. Did go to Catholic school all my life, St. Matthew's, Bishop Grimes, both in my district, gave me exposure to a lot of people out in the county and kind of the challenges that people outside of the Syracuse have as well. So I have a broad perspective as to how different people throughout the county think and why they think that way. So I think that's helpful to me. Graduated from Syracuse University with a degree in business management, and I'm currently a Syracuse firefighter with about 12 years on. I always enjoy talking about what it is that we want to do at the county level, because, I want to do everything. The one thing that I always said on the Board of Education is the worst part about this job is you can't do everything fast enough. Every day people live their lives facing the challenges that we're supposed to be addressing, and we just can't address them fast enough. And we need to work faster. And, I know that we're working as fast as we can, but it's always disheartening to know that we can't move fast enough because people's lives are happening every moment that we're not doing the things that we need to do as a county. So again, thank you for having me. And if anybody has questions after this, I always enjoy those conversations. So give me a call, give me an email, whatever it might be. I know that we're going to give, what we can here, but longer conversations are needed to cover a lot of these topics.
Well, thank you, Dan. Next up, Palmer Harvey represents District number 9. So Palmer, let's see, there we go.
Hi, my name is Palmer Harvey. I'm the County Legislator for District 9. So a little bit about me. I have a background in community activism and volunteerism. I used to volunteer with Tomorrow's Neighborhood Today on the South Side. I was on the Housing Task Force Committee. And also co-founded the Syracuse Tenants Union. So I'm a tenant organizer as well, which I still do today. I've done a lot of legislative work surrounding tenants' rights issues. And also the reason why I decided to go to the county, to run for county legislator, is because I think that the 3 main things that I want to delve deeply into and to assist with all the problems we have going on in our county is like housing, healthcare, and poverty is like our biggest thing, because in the city we have a huge poverty rate. And in my district, I see a lot of healthcare needs and housing issues. And I think that with the county's resources, I could better address some of the issues that are going on in my side of town. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Palmer. Mark, you're up next. Mark Olson.
Thank you very much, Rita, and thank you to the Focus Greater Syracuse for putting this together. I think this is a great opportunity for the legislators to come together and kind of talk about what we do and our backgrounds. I've already learned something about, Legislator Romeo that I didn't know. I'm born and raised in Fayetteville. My wife, Mary, is a nurse at St. Joe's Hospital. Our sons, one is still in college at Geneseo, and I have another son that lives in Philadelphia. I was very fortunate to grow up in this community. I have 7 brothers and sisters. I'm the only one that stayed in Syracuse. Everybody else went to different parts of the area. At a very young age, I joined the Fayetteville Fire Department. I was always brought up in a family that the more you give, the more you get. So I have dedicated over 40 years to the Fayetteville Fire Department and the Fayetteville community. It taught me to give back. It's, to me, being an elected official is about service. It's about helping people. It's about being able to make connections and connect people to county resources. I was a village trustee for 8 years, then a mayor for 20 years in Fayetteville, and then an opportunity came up with the legislator retiring. I thought it was a great opportunity to connect county resources to the villages and the people that I represent. Sometimes I feel like there was a disconnect and people didn't understand completely how much the county really does. Right now, I serve as chairman of public safety. I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and I also was previously on Ways and Means. Like all the legislators, I'm still learning every day. I learn something every day. There's a new phone call or a new email or a new project that we're working on. But right now, the main focus to me is to continue to provide services to the residents of our community. I'm very fortunate that we have a great system in place with our staff at the legislature to be able to give us emails, to be able to get us phone calls, to be able to get us to the resources, because it's not as easy as just picking up the phone and taking care of a constituent service issue, because at the legislative branch, we're not running the day-to-day business, but we are running the day-to-day business of our constituent service. So one of the big things that I want to make sure is that we continue to connect our village residents to all the county resources, because I think people, when they see that, will realize how much the county does affect their life. The other reason is that I'm on the legislature is because I think I had dealt with the county legislature as the mayor's representative during the sales tax issue. I don't think a lot of people know, but all the sales tax generated in Onondaga County and the city of Syracuse goes to the county and the city, not to the villages and towns. I think that's important, as you'll see in the Main Street program that I champion. That's giving back some of that money that is generated in the towns and villages back to those communities. Also, first responders. Dan is obviously a city fireman, but I'm a volunteer, and I think that's important that we have that representation on the legislature. Last year, we passed tax reduction for first responders and EMS people. I think it's important that the legislature understands how important these volunteers are to our community and how much time and energy they save. Also, 10% of people in our county live in villages. And as a former mayor, I think it's important to represent the villages in our community and make sure that those programs and the things that they're doing are brought in front of the legislature. I look forward to the rest of 2024 and even 2025. There's a lot of great things happening in our community. And with all the new legislators and our new chairman, Tim Burtis, there's been a breath of fresh air brought to our legislature, and I really enjoy working together with everybody. And I look forward to continuing to make our county better every day. Thank you so much for listening.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Mo Brown represents district number 15. Mo,
Thank
you know
you.
the drill by now.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Rita, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm gonna try and be brief because I actually do see there's already a question in the chat, and that's actually exciting for me. I want to engage with folks, but my name is Maurice Brown. I'm the county legislator for District 15. I think that housing, education, and healthcare are human rights, and I think that it's the role of local government to protect those human rights. I actually began running because I felt some of those rights were under attack, and I want to fight back. And I figured this was the best way to go about it. Briefly, District 15 is located entirely within the city of Syracuse. It's most of the southern neighborhoods. So I have the Valley, I have parts of the South Side, I have my neighborhood, which is the University neighborhood, Outer Comstock, Meadowbrook, etc. But I view myself as a legislator for the city of Syracuse. The city is a part of the greater county conversation, but I think that very often we forget that the city of Syracuse is a part of the county, and we are in this together. We have to work together. My two biggest priorities that I ran on were housing and transportation. I think that those are the two ways that the county can best help serve this community, the central New York area. I think we can do a lot more. The housing visions was mentioned. I'm excited about that project and several others like it, but we need more. We just, we are not building housing at the rate we need to, especially with everything that's coming. Um, those are my biggest priorities. However, my biggest priority since I took office January 1st has actually been the Meadowbrook detention basin. Constituents really wanted a plan for it. The mulch there actually hasn't been being delivered, and I'm actually proud to, I guess, announce that working with the county executive's office, we're going to be getting mulch for the detention basin. It's going to be starting mid-June, so that's exciting for me. I want to view myself as like a constituent servant. I really do want to work with people, and that's what I think I'm going to do. A little about my background. I'm adopted Syracuse. I wasn't born here. I was taken in by Syracuse after I got out the military. I graduated from OCC as well as SU, and I bought my house here because this is my home. There's no place like Central New York in the world, and I am looking forward to, hearing your questions and working with you all going forward. And I'll use Dan's same caveat of if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to, continue talking. Thanks.
Thank you, Mo.
Yes.
Okay, last but certainly not least is Nadisha Hernandez. And Nadisha, let me get you spotlighted here. But go for it.
Yes. First I'll pronounce my name for everyone. My name is Nydecia Hernandez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's why I'm here to pronounce it. I cover the 17th district, which is a little different than the whole Syracuse, but I do have a lot of the east side of Syracuse. I also have the town of DeWitt in my district. It's unique to me because it's a part of town that I chose when I came from the Bronx. I'm not from here either. That I chose to be a part of, and I chose to come to and work for. I was an educator for many, many years. A lot of people don't realize that I have a lot of work that I do in the judicial system. Coming from the Bronx and being impoverished and looking at the housing situations and the hunger situations there, and then coming here for a better life and seeing that the county of Onondaga County is becoming the same as where I left was kind of disheartening to me, right? So I wanted to make sure that it was a voice at the table that understands and knows what we need, because I still live that life. I am a single mother of 3. My children are a little older. I am a proud grandmother now. So I've added a lot more to my plate and a lot more people to advocate for. I'm a grandmother of 2. I've worked in the Syracuse City School District for 17 years. Mostly at Nottingham High School. We transitioned a lot. So I've been at Henniger, I've been at Beard, working with students with disabilities and working with students coming from violent backgrounds. So I feel like I've been an advocate my whole life because I've been advocating for the betterment of those children, making sure that they have decent housing to live in, making sure that they're not hungry. And I feel like this is something that we need to definitely advocate for, to make sure the parents and the adults have what they need to live and survive. I was lucky because I moved into this district. I did run in 2019 out in Clay. That's where I was living at the time. And I saw Clay needing the same needs as Syracuse, having those living in housing that they couldn't afford and being in poverty and having hunger issues. And I moved to this side of town by luck. My son took the exam to become a fireman, and he got 100 on that exam. He didn't pass the physical test. But I moved into a side of town I was very familiar with. My kid's grandmother lives on Fayette in the apartments. And Linda Irvin wanted to retire, and she first approached me a couple of years back. And I said, Linda, I really didn't move here for that. I'm not ready. I do work for Senator Rachel May, so I am able to advocate on the state level. And then this time she said, well, if it's not going to be you, it's going to be someone else. knowing my passion for the county, my passion for making sure that everyone has human rights that they need. I also was a human rights commissioner. I said, it's time you better step up and don't let someone else take this seat, because you know you're going to do your best job at this. And that's what I've been trying to do. I sit on public safety, county facilities. I sit on the fishery board, and a lot of the county, my colleagues, they laugh about that. But I like to strategically place myself places where I know there's a need for change. And why not introduce the city of Syracuse to fishing? Why not introduce our kids to fishing and give them another skill? So I happily say, yes, I would take on that position and advocate for our children and our youth to be a part of that arena. I'm going to be short and brief because I'm excited like Maurice. I was telling you earlier that I'm sitting here like, oh, we're going to take up 24 minutes speaking, and I want to really get to the conversation. So I am available. I am out here. I have been, like Maurice, advocating for that mulch as well, and advocating and finding little pockets of money here and there that we can utilize to better the county. And even though I'm District 17, I think of the county as a whole. If I better District 17, we're better the county as a whole.
Great. Thank you so much. I am going to bring everybody into this conversation now. And I'm going to bring Brian Hope, our former board member and an emeritus board member now, who's going to lead our question and answers.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us, in particular, our esteemed elected representatives for joining us today. We had a lot of questions sent in advance. We'll try to get to many of them. If there's time, or if the posed in the session here today, which some have already put in, questions fit into the thread of conversation, we'll try to get to those too. We had quite a few questions posed in advance about the nature of politics in America, right? I think few would argue that we live in a time of considerable division, right? In at least in the national stage. I wonder if you could talk about how that translates to the county level. And in particular, one question among the several that we got in that vein talked about, are there times when your interests for your district perhaps conflict with the interests of the county as a whole, or vice versa, right? And I wonder if you could talk about divisions and that between and among legislators, and in particular the district versus county as a whole issue. And anybody who would like to start, feel free. Kevin?
Brian?
Yeah, please.
I'd like to start off by saying that since January, the relationship between both sides of the aisle, we'll say, to me, has been very pleasant. We've all got along very well. I've had a chance to sit with certain legislators who are Democrats and listen, and myself and Dan Romeo even have attempted to put some legislation together, and we're still working on that.
And you two sit on different sides of one Democrat, one Republican, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So from my viewpoint, it's completely different here in Onondaga County than it is on the national level.
Gotcha. Well,
that's my
refreshing. Other thought. Anybody else want to come in on this?
I
think Dan was ahead of me, but I'll talk after Dan. So,
well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I'll echo kind of what Kevin said. The divisions among local politics, I don't think are or need to be what you see at the national level. I've worked with Kevin on legislation. I've worked with Mark on funding that we're currently working on. I've worked with other Republicans about how we can support our bordering districts. And I enjoy working with my Democratic colleagues as well. Maurice and I have had great conversations about, what we can do and where we can go with things, even when we're on, different parts of it, and we can bring it together because we can have real conversations about what's going on, because that's what our goal should be, is doing what's best for this county. And I think that everybody that I've worked with so far is doing that. And as long as that's what our goal is, then what party you run with is over after November. So then we're all one legislature that needs to work together. And that's what I've seen since January. And it's been refreshing. I came from a board that was all one party, and it was not this refreshing. I can tell you that.
When we were in the session just getting ready and you all were chatting among yourselves, it seemed quite pleasant, right? I didn't know if you were just putting me on because you were just trying to be nice, but that's a refreshing thing to see. Sorry, other thoughts?
No, and I appreciate everybody's comments, and I agree with everybody so far. I will tell you that when I got and joined the legislature, I've been a village mayor for 20 years, and when we voted on something and we left, and it didn't go say we didn't all agree, but we agreed on what was best for the village. And it may be 3-2, it might be 4-1, or it might be unanimous. But at the end of the day, we did what was best for Fayetteville. And I think this group of people in front of us has that same feeling. What can we do for the best outcome for the Onondaga County? And to me, we're working together more. Well, we're not always going to agree, but I think we have a great respect for each other, and we want to do what's best for each one of our districts and the county. Dan and I are working on something right now for the land bank. We've worked on public safety issues. He's informing me on school board issues. Maurice had a great town hall about housing. I want to work with him and try to do that in the 10th district. Right now, Charles Goller and I are working on a program for the funeral directors because they haven't had a raise in a long time. The county does it for people that can't afford to pay for their funerals. So Charles is a great resource. So is Ken Bush. I think you're seeing more with Tim's leadership and the changes of the people here on the call today. It's all about service, and it's all about serving our communities. It's not about the political divides that might be. And I tell people, there's somebody on the call I saw that was at one of our meetings about the Deer Committee and the things that we're doing for the CNY Lyme Association. People, if you read in the paper, it's all about division. And it's all about Republicans versus Democrats. But if you're at our meetings, you'll see we're trying to solve problems. We're trying to work together. And I tell people, come to the meetings and you'll see, we passed a $30 million housing initiative unanimously. We didn't all agree it was the best program. Like I think Maurice said in the meeting, I want more. So we all wanted more. But we ended up doing what was right and passed that legislation. And that happens every meeting where we're moving the needle forward and we're working on projects. We'll get a lot more done working together than fighting with each other. And I think this group is showing that it works.
I got to believe there are times when one's, that even if you may be on different sides of the political aisle, if you both come from an outlying village versus a city district or suburb, those alliances may sometimes at our level be more sticky, right, than political Democrat Republican, right? It's got to be the times that your allegiance to your district, there's a outlying rural village legislator who's a Democrat, another who's a Republican. You may come down on the same side of an issue despite your different political party. Is that?
Yeah, there's a perfect example of that right now. We're dealing with an EMS issue that the city has that the suburb districts are helping cover. And, I'm working with Dan, I'm working with emergency management, I'm working with the county executive's office and the mayor's office because there is a problem but there's a solution that the county can help, the city can help, and the suburban districts can help. And it's just putting those pieces of the puzzle together to help figure out what the best course of that is. But I think all of us want to try to do what's right. It's just how we get there. And as Kevin said, to me, it's refreshing because we are trying to do and work together to get it done.
Gotcha. Palmer, I'm sorry. My comments delayed. You had your hand up, please.
Yeah, I thought Nodija didn't. Nodija speak? Are you going to go speak, Nodija, before I jump in?
I'm good. Sorry. Yeah, I'm done.
No, I took my hand down because
Oh, sorry, Nodija.
Share comments.
All right, so I can give my 2 cents on this. I think that we work well together in the sense of now, because we haven't had really big things that we disagree on that's become nasty or anything like that. And I think most people have been very lovely. So I don't see a problem. Actually, I don't see us as Republican Democrats at all, because you're always going to have people, no matter what you're doing, that they're not going to agree with you, and you can come to some common ground and get things done. And I think that's the most important thing, because we are here for the purpose of the people's growth, not for our growth, and it's the people's money that we're spending to do things. So hopefully we'll put things out in the community that is best for the people.
Palmer, do you find there are times when the interests of your district, the particular geography that you represent, differ perhaps from what would be good for the county as a whole? I mean, it must come, right? That there are times when the specific needs of your more limited section of the county conflict a little bit with, what others might do. But it sounds like you yourself said, people are working towards that. Has that ever come up in your tenure so far?
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Palmer, do you mind if I answer this? No.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Is that
So-
okay? Great. Thanks, Dan.
Sorry to jump in. So this was one thing that I had talked about, how I don't have an inch of farmland in my district, but I understand the importance of farming and the farmers market and the value that brings to Onondaga County as a whole. And there are people that don't have any of the city in their district, but I would hope that they would understand the importance of the city to the county as a whole. So when I'm advocating for the city and what the city needs, they have been responsive. One of the things that Mark and I are working on is with the land bank, and which is disproportionately part of the city. And he's fine with it because he knows that that's what's going to help Onondaga County as a whole. So I don't think that the greater good of the county conflicts with what our specific districts are, because when I advocate for something in my district, I have to convince others that it's best for the county as a whole. And then when other people advocate for their district, they will convince me that it's best for the county as a whole, regardless if we have that thing in our district or not, or if it's something that we are trying to prioritize. If it's helpful, it's helpful, and we should all work towards trying to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's refreshing to hear as as reading the news. I'm sorry, Nadisha, you wanted to come in, please.
Yeah, I just want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
I
Nadisha.
do, understand a little bit where you're coming from because, as a part of my run, I do have the town of DeWitt and I do have Syracuse, and I have a lot of different kind of housing in Syracuse. And I remember when I was running, a lot of my constituents thought that they were losing a representative for DeWitt because I live in Syracuse, right? And I had to constantly remind people that I did also live in Clay. So I do understand the different needs and understand you might need something different and it might be better off for your district. But just like everyone else said, yes, we have to advocate for the county as a whole. But I do understand, I did get a lot of that, like, are you going to advocate for DeWitt and Syracuse?
Because your district covers both.
It covers both, yes. And because I live one house away from the DeWitt marker.
Oh, interesting. Did that come about because of a change in the district boundaries, or it has been that way for a while?
Well, it has been that way, but it did change a little bit with the new redistricting.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else we didn't hear from on this topic who'd like to come in? Apologies if okay, very good. Well, thank you. Like I said, one reads the news, right? And
yeah. And it's a terrible line, don't believe what you read. That's not what I'm saying. What it is come and see. And if you come and see, you will experience it.
Yeah, I just want to add something before we go on to the next question, because housing, healthcare, and poverty are things in my big top 3 things are things that people deal with throughout the county. So it's not just like an isolated incident, just only my district, because mine is mostly throughout the city. So I just can't imagine just like alienating people because they live further out than me for those 3 things. That would hurt my feelings a lot if I did that. So it's proactive to me to reach out to across the aisle to get things done.
That's great. Well, nice to hear. All right. Well, a nice segue then, Palmer. Thank you. Onto housing. We had quite a few questions about housing. I think Syracuse, our community, Onondaga County, is not alone in some of the challenges folks face, right? In finding affordable, decent, safe, close to work, near transport kind of housing. I wonder if you might talk about both some of the challenges, what's being done to address it, if you have in particular ideas that you think are several of you already commented on it, right, in your opening remarks, but I wonder if we could dig into that just a little bit more, please. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I can go. Sorry. I was
Thank you,
looking for the
Maurice.
hand raise. I was looking for the
Yeah,
hand raise
yeah.
feature
That's it.
and I couldn't find it fast enough. But yes, I think housing is entirely critical issue. I'm glad that the county is working with CZB, which is the same group that did the housing study for the city of Syracuse. There's going to be a county study done. I believe it has been completed. We're actually waiting to get the results of it. But, Mark mentioned that I had my housing town hall, and I think that's one area where the county just falls short. I think we can be doing more. A lot of great work is being done. Mark mentioned Main Street, and the OCHIP program has been helping Disa Palmer and I. We actually went to a press conference in East Syracuse actually about they're building condos in
St.
the
Mary's. Yep.
St. Mary's School. Yes, thank you. And that's exciting seeing those small projects come about. I think someone in the questions mentioned housing visions, what they're doing on North Salina Street. So things are happening, and I don't want to ignore what is happening. However, I do think we need to go further. Dan, I'm probably going to try and inch my way into your conversation with you and Mark about the land
Yeah.
bank, because I think that, that's an opportunity. I think that's something we need to do more on. We need to look into. I'm on record, when I was running, I was against the aquarium, not because of the aquarium, but I want to see an aquarium size investment into housing. If we had taken that aquarium money and put it into the land bank, and whether we rehabilitated those projects, whether we removed them and built new things on those sites, I think that would have been a better investment for the community. But I think that small picture, as far as the patchwork, we're on the same page. We got to get on the same page, big picture, and start realizing that housing is a big issue. This is something that if we don't tackle, especially with Micron coming, if we don't give it our big swing, I think that it could, go really badly for us. So,
And Mo, you mentioned a press conference. Were you delivering the press conference in East Syracuse with your colleagues?
No. So it was
Okay.
Ryan McMahon's press conference. Sorry, it was the county executive's press conference. He invited us. I believe he invited us all, and we just happened to be the ones who could show. But I was excited to hear it. We're on different sides of the aisle, but I was happy that he had the invite, and I was happy to go and speak to the developer and see that these projects are happening, because we just need more housing. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Others on this topic, please.
Thank you, Maurice, for everything you said, because you couldn't have been 100% more truer. And I think we need to take this one step further. When we do implement more housing, we have to make sure that it's really accessible for all. Because I rolled around my district, I have about 20 plus different kind of apartments in my district. And a lot of them have empty apartments, but it's sad because the policy behind the applications of what they need to do to access those apartments are just not with human rights at all. Having to have income 3 times the rent, having to have high credit scores, having to have paid a higher security deposit. And when I say I rolled around, I really didn't. There's a lot of apartments accessible right now for the homeless, and we have a lot of homeless, but we have to make sure that we make those applications fair and just for all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to start working with the Attorney General on making sure that we implement those laws and hold the apartment complexes accountable, because we do have those laws in New York State. We're just not holding these apartments accountable, and it's time to hold them accountable, because there's an apartment complex down the street with 4 empty apartments right now. But if you don't make 3 times the rent, you cannot live in there.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Why don't we go in the order? I see some hands up, just in which
Yeah.
you happen to live on my rectangles, Mark, and then Palmer, and then Dan, if that's okay.
Perfect. And I agree with everything being said. And next year I'm hoping, or this year at the end of the year, I'm hoping that the county executive has another bold initiative, 30 plus more $1 million towards this goal. We are getting hurt by the economic conditions that we're in. Building cost, square footage cost to build a house 5-10 years ago was $125 a square foot. Today it's over $300 a square foot, because the material cost, the labor cost. So some of these programs, I think we can bolster and get more into them to help, build more units or rehab more units. The land bank program is a program that we want to tear down 74 houses right away, all at once, and then get those lots back on the rolls, back developable. So I want to hope that we can put money towards that program, and it saves not only those residents that are near those properties, it also, we don't want anybody to get hurt, a firefighter getting into one of those buildings or something happening. There's some public safety issues with it. There's some, economic issues with it, but I think it's a program that we could get behind, but I'm hoping that we can get more involved. It's on my list: units, affordability, and just the cost. I just don't have answers. I'm a board member at the Samaritan Center in my free time, and I hear some of these issues that are coming on when I'm there. I just don't have the answers, and I wish there was a way. Maurice, the report I found out today is coming out in June. So our housing plan for Onondaga County is being done by the same company that did the housing plan for the city of Syracuse. So we're going to have, and the state did one a year ago. So we're going to have 3 reports to go by: state, county, and city. And we're going to need to look at these and figure out what can we do. And hopefully the blueprint that we get in front of us as legislators from the county executive's office will meet and exceed all those problem issues in the city, the county, and the state, so that we can move forward. It is right now in my district, there is no houses for sale, and the ones that are for sale, the seniors are getting hurt because the assessments are going up. Veterans are getting hurt because they can't afford to live in the houses anymore. People on fixed incomes can't afford to live in that. It's not just it's a problem all throughout the county. And what's going to happen? Because I don't see the rates going down. I don't see the values of properties. I just saw an article that Rochester and Syracuse have the 2 top 10 hottest real estate markets in the country. This is a problem. We've got to figure out a way to make either the cost of doing business lower, or make it where we can get people the money they need to develop and redevelop properties.
Gotcha. Thank you. Palmer, do you want to come in, please?
Yeah, so I think all those things are great, and I think we should always spend more money on the housing subject, but also to people bear in mind that we need to create programs, or distribute the money that we're already using for other programs to help shore up, like evictions and stuff like that, or eviction prevention, excuse me, and something for the homeowners, or developing new programs for all the things that people who are falling through the cracks. Because a lot, like as Mark said, it's a lot of things happening that people don't realize. It's like a housing crisis is not just tenants alone. It's also the people who own their houses, because like I said, the assessments are going up. And then what about the taxes later on? You're on fixed income, you're disabled, you can't fix this, and all these things trickle down. So it's a complete mess all the way around. But we need to also work on the prevention measures for anything else. And plus, we got to find a different way of housing the homeless, because right now people are being put in hotels, and that's not good for us. And it's part of our entertainment and travel and all this type of stuff as well. We don't have no hotels. Where are people going to stay that want to come to Syracuse? So we got to formulate a plan that works for everything surrounding housing, because it's like a trickle down effect of how it's affecting housing as a whole.
Right. Good point. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, Dan had a hand up too. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start off by saying there's a million things that we need to do, so we're not going to touch on all of them. And we needed to do them yesterday. We need more money than anybody has. All of those things are true. But one thing that I'll bring up, and this is kind of what Kevin and I were working on, is that there are some municipalities that are helping to solve this problem, and other municipalities that aren't helping as much as we would like. So if one thing that the county might be able to do is to incentivize municipalities to both move faster and make it cheaper. So as Mark was talking about the increased cost to create housing, a lot of that comes on the creating plans and delays associated with getting approvals to create that housing. And we can incentivize municipalities and work with them if they need us to cut down on the time that it takes to get those approvals, and therefore cutting down on the costs associated with getting those approvals and getting housing created faster. So that's something that I think that we need to do, because that's the gap there. We have programs that help the property owner, but we don't have programs to help the municipalities both reduce that time and cost that I had talked about, but also putting in infrastructure around the new development that will be there to incentivize other development around those areas. Mark had talked about taking down the vacant buildings for the land bank. That's great, and we can put up new housing, but we need to do like an entire block, right? And we need that block to have other infrastructure associated with it, like sidewalks and things that need to be done to improve that area. So the more we can do, the better, because there's just so much to this. And I definitely welcome questions and more discussion about this after this from people.
Cool. Thank you.
And that's that bottom up approach that I like better. And I think that's what the county executive is trying to do with that $30 million program, is a bottom up.
Gotcha. Let's move on to one
If
more.
I could.
Sorry, go ahead. Kevin, you want to come in, please?
Yeah, if I could quick with 20 years experience in the real estate industry as a broker. I've never, speaking from that side, I've never seen a housing shortage as bad as it is in today's world. And there's so many different reasons for it. And there's so many, we as a county can only do so much. And I think that the county executive at this moment has done a wonderful thing. And it's a great start. But like everyone said, there's still so much more to do. Dan and I still feel that Dan and I had some great thoughts, and we were looking for some more pieces to be put together. Also, with my experiences being on the town board, I can tell you that part of the problem definitely is that the towns and villages have control, which they should, but they control what approvals and how quickly and what and where and how, where these properties get approved to be built. And to give them some sort of incentive is a good idea. There's still more work to that plan that Dan and I have not given up on, for sure. Another piece of it, just quickly, is senior housing. We lack senior housing in Onondaga County in a way that it's a big problem. And I do apologize. My lawn mowing crew is here cutting the lawn. If you can hear them in the background. But more senior housing would create more houses for sale on the market. It's just the people that are living in neighborhoods that don't want to, leave Central New York. They've been born and raised here. They have grandchildren here. They're embedded in the community. To take those people out of neighborhoods and they could sell their home. Now you have a home available, and we have them living in affordable senior housing somewhere. We lack that, and I hope that we can put more focus on that, as well as there's so many other, like everyone's mentioned. That's just a small piece of it. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in on that. We don't have much time left, so if I could ask you to be brief in answering the last sort of one of the other threads of common questions was about equity, right? And in particular, with some major changes coming up for our community, our broader community, Route 81, Micron, right? Sort of existential, once in a generation, once in a lifetime kind of change. Wondering how we as a community, we as a county in particular, capitalize on the opportunities from those possibilities, but ensure that those opportunities redound to the credit of and benefit of all of us in this county, in your districts in particular. Wonder if folks could just comment on that briefly as we go around and say no more than a half a minute or a minute each. Anybody want to come in first? Mo, you look like you're
I would, but that is like a way more than a half a minute conversation.
Yeah.
I gotta say about you. Fair enough. But
I will say I do think it's just something that we should just have on our mind. Like as we're thinking about Micron and the new jobs that it will create, who are those jobs going to go to? As we're thinking about the new housing we're creating, who's the housing going to go to? We have to be conscious about it. Like we have to be deliberate. We can't just kind of do it and hope that equity places itself. It has to be in the legislation. It has to be written in. 30% of this housing should be low income. 40% of these jobs should go to women, veterans, minority owned businesses. Like that has to be in the legislation. And if it's not, we can't be surprised when it doesn't happen.
Gotcha. Thank you. Next up.
We have to remember that a big part of why we're impoverished is because we don't have equity, right? And we have to remember that to have those jobs go where they need to go, it helps bring us out of this hunger, this homelessness, and the impoverished conditions that Syracuse live in now. We speak a lot about the good that's going on, but we have to also remember that we still sit as one of the most impoverished cities, right? So we have to use our voices and continue to use our voices. And this just kind of goes back really quick to housing, because even with the Great Northern Project that goes on, right? And then they say that they're not going to have affordable housing. We're not going to have hundreds of thousands of jobs in our county that make six figures. So for that to happen is really disheartening, right? Because we have to remember, to be equitable is how we're going to get out of being an impoverished city.
Gotcha. Thank you. Dan?
The two things that I really think, just this is the quickest answer I could come up with, is create more opportunity for those that don't have an equal opportunity, and removing barriers, because there's a lot of barriers, right? We have jobs, we have people that can't get to those jobs. We have people that don't even know the opportunity of some jobs are out there. So let's provide them the skills through workforce development and other things like that, so that we can do that. And I think that when we target that to the people who generally haven't had that, then we can bring them up, because with the same opportunity, everybody can do well.
Great. Thank you. Mark, you
heard that theme at our 911 meeting this week about transportation, that's a big barrier in another program, but it does affect this program. To me, it's about listening, it's about learning, it's about advocating, and then listening to the people that are in the trenches and are working on it, and learn from them and try to promote those programs to help these people. I think, and that goes back to, we're all in it together. We're not going to have one district succeed and another district fail. It doesn't work. We've seen it. It doesn't work. We've got to have all of us working together for the betterment of everybody, and then we'll all, rise together. So to me, I want to listen. I want to learn more, and I want to advocate on behalf of the, underserved and under people that need our help and that need, need that support, and how can we make their lives better? That's what our job is. Our job is to make people's lives better, to service and the community. And to me, I think we can do it. And now is a perfect time with all the things happening. I mean, it would have been just 81 and JMA and all those other would have been beautiful. Now you add on all the other things happening. I mean, I think the change is coming to our community. We have to embrace them, but we also have to make sure that everybody rises.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody else want to come in? Last thoughts?
Yes, I will.
Please.
Okay. Tough question to answer in a minute and a half. However, I'll do my best. We as a county right now are in a position that we have never seen before. We're going to prosper. It's going to be an amazing time for this whole community. And fortunately, we have 17 legislators right now that all get along. We all listen to each other. We all like each other. Like, on a personal level, I firmly believe every one of us like each other. And that's important. And it's going to start with us listening to each other, understanding where each of our perspectives are coming from. And with that, we can work together and make the changes that we need to make to bring equity, a real thing, to the county.
Great. Well, thank you. Palmer, you didn't get it. Do you want to come in on this, or any last words?
Well, yeah, I think that I just want to agree with what the last speaker said, Kevin, is that we definitely all we want to work hard and do what's best for our communities, and that's important. I mean, one of the biggest things while we all ran for office is to make sure that the county as a whole has the best thing coming. Because one of the things I'm personally tired of is having the #1 concentration of poverty in the nation. I'm like, of all the things I want to be first at, poverty ain't one of them. So we have to learn how to fix those type of things and not be known for something, known for the greatness that we all know we can be in the county.
Well said. Thank you. Well, my opinion of politics is radically different than it was 24 hours ago in a good direction. So thank you all for your comments, and I'll turn it back to you, Rita.
Yes, a big thank you to Nadicia, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, Palmer, Mark, Mo, Kevin, Dan, did I get you all? And then, of course, to Brian for leading the question and answer. This has been really, really insightful. I appreciate all of you. That was a great conversation that went on. So I just appreciate all that you do and your participation today. So, like all of our forums, this has been recorded, and within a few days, it will be on our website, focussyracuse.org. So feel free to send your friends and and colleagues to listen in if they weren't able to join us today. There's also a place to easily donate to Focus. If this has inspired you to do so, we would gratefully take anyone's funds. Other than that, again, we'll see you next month for another Focus Forum, and thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.